Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning I bid to Madam Vaini and to all. My name is Sarah Natasha bin Azli, and today I will be presenting my case study titled Exploring the Impact of Bilingualism and Multilingualism on Children's Language Learning. This study reflects my personal interest and academic pursuit in understanding how children acquire language in multilingual settings like Malaysia. So these are the agendas of my case study for this video. So let's begin by setting the stage for this study. Malaysia is a multilingual country. In many homes, children grow up exposed to more than one language. For example, Malay, Mandarin, Tamil, English, and even Arabic. So, this creates a rich linguistic environment, but also a complex one when it comes to learning English effectively. My case study focuses on how bilingualism or multilingualism, together with factors like home language use, school environment, and digital exposure, impact a child's English learning process. So why is this important? Because learning a second or third language isn't just about memorizing vocabulary. It's also about confidence, opportunity, and meaningful practice. So this study explores how a Year 4 student, whom I will refer to as a Child A, develops her English in a real-world, multilingual setting. It helps us understand not just what works, but also what hinders her progress. So now let's talk about Child A's background. This kid is situated in a Malaysian primary school reflecting the nation's multilingual society where Malay, English, Mandarin, and Tamil are commonly used. While Malay is the official language, English is widely taught and used for academic purposes. Mandarin and Tamil, meanwhile, are preserved within their respective communities. English is introduced early in school and remains a core subject in secondary education, critical for academic and career success. Child A is a Year 4 student who lives in an urban area and attends a government primary school. She is actively learning English but uses Malay as her dominant language in daily interactions. Her English learning journey also is shaped by various factors. For example, her home environment, school instruction, and digital media exposure. Digital media plays a significant role in reinforcing vocabulary and comprehension. Child A enjoys English cartoons and games, which help build passive understanding of the language. However, this media exposure also encourages code switching, where English and Malay are blended in casual conversations. For instance, she might say, "I thought like this," mixing languages based on convenience and also her comfort. So, key stakeholders in her learning include her parents, teachers, and also peers. Parental attitudes toward English, as highlighted by Hossain Poh et al. 2015, significantly impact a child's language learning journey. English teachers too are expected to provide supportive and engaging environments, said by Homa Babai, Shavan, and Sadeghi 2009. Peers contribute as well, argue that students are more engaged and active when assisted by their classmates. From a historical perspective, Malaysia's language education policy is rooted in its colonial past. Said Oze 2012 explains that British administrators introduced English schools during colonial times, followed by vernacular schools for different ethnic groups. This dual language legacy remains influential today. The government continues to promote both English and Bahasa Melayu, aiming to maintain proficiency in both. Child A's language acquisition journey is thus a product of both current policies and historical context. Now, the main challenge for Child A is her code-switching behavior and also low confidence in using English fluently. While bilingualism offers advantages, inconsistent use of languages across different settings like home, school, and entertainment could affect the balanced development of both languages. Child A primarily communicates in Malay with family and friends. Though she sometimes uses English with her mother, sister, and teacher, her overall use of English is very minimal. This suggests a stronger connection to her native language in everyday life. This aligns with Normal Liska and D'Angelo 2024, who emphasized that learning English in school is vital for academic success and future global opportunities. However, because child A lacks real-life practice in speaking English, her fluency suffers and she hesitates to speak the language despite understanding it. Moreover, societal and cultural norms reinforce the use of Malay, which further limits her exposure to English. Even when given the opportunity to speak English at home, she often switches back to Malay, demonstrating a lack of confidence. Therefore, to support her language development, an immersive and structured learning environment is necessary. This includes interactive activities such as storytelling, role-playing, and peer discussions, which help improve fluency and also build her confidence. So now let's analyze Child A's language development using a SWOT framework. SWOT, S stands for strengths, W stands for weaknesses, and O stands for opportunities, and last but not least is T stands for threats. Strengths include her interest in English, her ability to code switch, and her basic comprehension of the language. Weaknesses include her limited confidence in speaking English, a preference for Malay in daily communication, and also a restricted vocabulary in English. Opportunities lie in her school environment, digital media exposure, and also the support from family members. Threats include Malay being the dominant language in her life, persistent code mixing habits, and a lack of real-life opportunities to practice speaking English. Now, applying second language acquisition theories, which are used Krashen's input hypothesis 1982, Swain's output hypothesis 1985, and Long's interaction hypothesis 1996. So, Krashen's input hypothesis 1982 suggests that learners acquire a second language through comprehensible input that is slightly beyond their current level. Child A benefits from English media and school lessons, indicating that she does receive input. However, her lack of fluency aligns with Krashen's affective filter hypothesis, which states that emotional factors like anxiety and low confidence can block language acquisition. Next is Swain's output hypothesis 1985, explains that producing language, which both speaking and writing, is necessary for developing accuracy and also fluency. Child A understands English but doesn't get enough opportunity to use it in meaningful contexts and her daily life. Her code switch speech such as I tak eat this and I tak like this shows her limited practice in forming grammatically correct English sentences. Last but not least is Long's interaction hypothesis 1966. Argues that interaction is key to language learning because it allows learners to negotiate meaning and adjust their language use based on feedback. Child A switches between languages depending on who she is talking to, showing some adaptability. But she kinda lacks enough consistent interaction in English to grow confident. Activities such as structured peer dialogues or group discussion or group work can provide the necessary interaction to strengthen her language skills. So from this analysis, several key findings has emerged. First, bilingualism does provide cognitive benefits. However, code switching and limited speaking practice can also hinder fluency. While Child A understands English through input from school and also media, she also struggles with some production, which is speaking and also constructing sentences confidently. Krashen's theory highlights the need for comprehensible input, which Child A receives, but her progress is also blocked by her affective filter. Swain reminds us that language output is essential, and Child A lacks these speaking opportunities. Long shows us that interaction is key, yet her English conversations are limited in both quantity and quality. This affects multiple stakeholders. Child A struggles academically and socially due to limited English proficiency. Second, parents may want to help but may lack the fluency or strategies to do so. The third one, teachers need to modify teaching methods to include more interactive activities that can engage her in her lesson. And then the last but not least is also peers. Peers can be either a source of support or intimidation, depending on how they respond to her use of English. A study by De Hoover 2007 on bilingual children in Flanders found that consistent exposure to both languages led to higher rates of bilingual proficiency. When both parents used the majority and minority language at home, 79% of children became bilingual. When only one parent used the minority language, it dropped to 73%. So yeah, Child A's case mirrors this, that consistent interaction in both languages is needed to build fluency. So from this analysis, several key findings has emerged. First, bilingualism does provide cognitive benefits. However, code switching and limited speaking practice can also hinder fluency. While Child A understands English through input from school and also media, she also struggles with some production, which is speaking and also constructing sentences confidently. Krashen's theory highlights the need for comprehensible input, which Child A receives, but her progress is also blocked by her affective filter. Swin reminds us that language output is essential, and Child A lacks these speaking opportunities. Long shows us that interaction is key, yet her English conversations are limited in both quantity and quality. This affects multiple stakeholders. Child A struggles academically and socially due to limited English proficiency. Second, parents may want to help but may lack the fluency or strategies to do so. The third one, teachers need to modify teaching methods to include more interactive activities that can engage her in her lesson. And then the last but not least is also peers. Peers can be either a source of support or intimidation, depending on how they respond to her use of English. A study by De Hoover 2007 on bilingual children in Flanders found that consistent exposure to both languages led to higher rates of bilingual proficiency. When both parents used the majority and minority language at home, 79% of children became bilingual. When only one parent used the minority language, it dropped to 73%. So yeah, Child A's case mirrors this, that consistent interaction in both languages is needed to build fluency. So based on the case analysis, here are several recommendations to support Child A's English development. First, structured speaking activities. These include role-playing, storytelling, and also classroom discussion. These activities allow Child A to practice English in a safe and engaging environment, which helps reduce fear and also build fluency and confidence. Second, home exposure. This one is very important one because parents should incorporate English into daily routines, even through simple conversations. Watching English cartoons, reading storybooks together, or using educational apps can create consistent exposure. Even if the parents aren't fluent, their encouragement and involvement matter. And the third one is peer-assisted learning. Allowing Child A to work with more proficient peers during group tasks can provide a natural and supportive space for communication in English. This peer support can build her confidence and also encourage her more consistent language use. So, these strategies are grounded in research. Krashen's input hypothesis supports the idea of increased home exposure, while Swin's output hypothesis justifies the need for structured speaking activities. And Long's interaction hypothesis and De Hoover's finding both emphasize the importance of social and familial interaction in building fluency. And alternative approaches like grammar-focused instruction or memorization might improve test performance but don't encourage real-life communication. Language use needs to be functional but meaningful also. So for the conclusion, this case study explores the complexity of bilingualism and second language acquisition in a real-life Malaysian context. Child A's experience reveals that while bilingualism offers numerous advantages, challenges like code switching, confidence issues, and inconsistent exposure to English prevent her from becoming very fluent in English. By applying expressions, swings, and long theories, we can understand better her struggles and needs. The solution lies in a well-rounded approaches. For example, structured classroom speaking activities, increased exposure to English at home, and peer-assisted interactions. Supporting learners like Child A requires collaboration between teachers, parents, and peers. These three can help to create a rich and supportive environment that can allow children to not just learn English, but to use it with confidence and fluency. This will ultimately prepare them for academic success and broader opportunities in the multilingual world. So that is all for me. Thank you.